The Zone Coverage Podcast Network.
The Andy, Luke, and Arif football machine.
Autobots, transform! I like this kind of party!
Straight cash, homie.
Starts now.
Welcome back to Thunderdome for another Zone Coverage football machine of the Zone Coverage Podcast Network. I'm your not zone below Andy Carlson at Andy Carlson Show on the Twitter machine, and I have equity. More equity than Mitch Trubisky learned to throw left to own the lib.
The singular lib.
Not
me.
plural.
Me.
How come that didn't get
crushed?
How come that didn't get another Twitter moment thing?
It's not as interesting when a quarterback can throw left.
Yeah, I suppose. We are here. We got Arif Hassan, NFL, in the building. You just heard the silky, sultry voice. Luke Inman is going to be in shortly. Yinka no-showed. On brand. It happens. Also, producer Eric is off mic, but he's working the board. Also, producer Eric, could you go let Luke in the back door, please?
Yes.
All right, there we go.
Fantastic.
That's how we roll. I feel like no Tom, since Tom has passed off the baton to Eric.
For a
But
second, I thought you were going to say since Thomas passed away, and I was like, good Lord, I didn't even get a heads up.
well, you had at least gotten part of the group text. Yeah, Tom died, and then it would had to be on brand. Like everyone would have had to crap all over him. And they'd be like, yeah, but still, rest in peace.
Damn it, Tom. But seriously.
Yep. Today, hour one, we're going to recap the Rams game, which feels like it happened like a week ago. Like it was a long time ago. Then look forward to
It did happen a week ago.
Philly. Yeah. Yeah, no.
It actually happened?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I feel, tell me if you feel the same way. The hype around the Vikings return to Philly is not the same because both teams are having their own issues.
Well, yeah, of course.
Or, week one when it was leaked and then everyone ran with, Vikings at Eagles, week one, Thursday at Lincoln
it was
Financial
huge
Field.
when the schedule
That was going to be big.
Yeah, everyone loved it.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised it actually wasn't the week one matchup because they do tend to do like this is a bitter playoff game kind of match because they did the Brett Favre 2009 Saints Vikings opening week matchup, or they'll do rivalries, right? But like San Francisco, Minnesota, like whatever.
Yeah. Well, hell, like Falcons at Eagles, where it's like,
yeah,
okay, sure.
that was a playoff game.
Yeah, it's like, that was a game.
It did help that the end of the game had been executed exactly like the end of the playoff game.
Yeah.
Like, that was pretty cool. I can't imagine that was like, scripted or anything. NFL's rigged.
Yeah, what if the NFL was rigged? Like, how many people would actually be in on it? Like,
It would take a lot of people.
how many people can be in on it before someone leaks?
Right. So that's always my issue with like these conspiracies, right? Is that it not only would it leak, Vegas would launch its own investigation if it was possible, right?
What if Vegas is in on it, though?
If Vegas is in on it,
I think everyone's in on everything.
right? If Vegas is in on it, then the bettors who swing massive amounts of money in Vegas would launch their own investigation. Someone's losing if the NFL is rigged, and they're pissed.
Billy Waters sues from prison. I knew it. But yeah, follow Zone Coverage on Twitter at Zone Coverage MN. Subscribe, rate, review on the iTunes as well. Help us climb the charts. Also available on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify. I don't know, whatever jabroni podcast network is starting up nowadays. But yeah, whatever. Get in there. Arif, what's been going on this week at The Athletic? You've been busy.
So I wrote a piece breaking down kind of everything that I thought, not just everything that went wrong in the Rams game, because that piece takes too long to write, but everything that I thought went wrong in the Rams game that represents the kind of problems the Vikings have had defensively all season.
Yep.
So I talked about like play action passing. The Vikings are the worst in the league against play action passes. And I talked about motions and stuff like that. I actually kind of wanted to title the piece "Motion Sickness," but there wasn't enough discussion about shifts and motions in the piece itself for me to justify it.
But that's okay. You don't have to have the headline or the lead relate to anything in the body of the work. I found that out.
Oh, okay.
I learned that at Yay School, Soft J.
Hey, Luke's here.
Actually, what percentage of like beat writers / writers at the Athletic, well, beat writers too, actually went to journalism school?
I'd say probably 75.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of the Medill people.
Yeah.
There's a good chunk of, I think, probably Cuse and Mizzou people. Which is really the only J school worth.
Are those the only 3 journalism schools
that produce sports writers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, at the Strib, Kramer went to the University of Minnesota, right? So you've got that, but
and you,
nationally, it seems like
you moonlighted at the U of M, but just not in journalism.
Yeah, I mean, I showed up.
Yeah,
I didn't walk away with a degree or anything.
Wait, was the journalism school even at the same bank as your classes?
I took 5 different majors, so at some point.
What was the dumbest major that you had?
I don't know that I took that many dumb majors. I just didn't take any good ones that were good fits. I imagine that the international studies major that I took would draw the most laughs from the kind of
we'll just name them all.
We did.
What do you got? How many you got? 5?
Yeah, so probably
Partial?
5. Yeah, so I did. Why are we talking about this?
It's like lyrics to "We Didn't Start the Fire."
All right, so I did economics, computer science, political science, global studies. That's what it's called, not international studies. Global studies, and for some,
Arif had a lot of majors: computer science as well as poli sci.
I think I tried to do an interdisciplinary design your own major, but I still had to complete
BYOM
German to do it. So I was like, oh well, I guess I'm not graduating.
Yeah. Like deuces Fraulein.
It's a good run. It's a pretty good con job for a while there, right?
Yeah, I actually don't have a problem learning languages. It's more you got to go to class every day.
Yeah.
Good God.
It's like you had a buy one get one coupon for college. Just pop in one, and I'm gonna stay. I took stay for the next one. That's cool.
I took this art history class. I showed up 3 times, and I got an A. That's fine. I don't. But German, you got to show up they take attendance, man. That's fascist.
2018?
I shouldn't say that about a German class.
Yeah. Whoa.
Just I was gonna let that one breathe for a little bit.
A little hot.
But Luke Inman, Luke_Spinman's in the building. What's up, Luke?
Hey, thanks for waiting for me, guys. Appreciate it.
We're 40 minutes late.
We're an hour 2.
We've never started at 6.
Yeah, but we've also never started at 6:45.
No, that's true. That's true.
All right.
I was late too, but I'm going to lay it on you.
You have to. Very rare, right? We're usually opposite spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Yankee ain't here. Whatever. Shootout in Los Angeles, 38-31. Vikings offense kept pace with the Rams. Had a shot to tie late, but then Aaron Donald remembered that he is Aaron Donald. You could chalk it up as a moral victory, sure, but the Vikings are still 1-2-1 at a quarter of the way through the season.
You don't get moral victories when you're a Super Bowl favorite. You're out of moral victories. You get moral victories when you are not in the playoffs.
That's why we always got to set the bar low, guys. We do this to it.
Well, it's
every
okay.
Every year we do this.
Short week, best team in the league at their place, sure, but also the Bills will go 1-15.
It is a lot. No, that's right. It is a lot tougher. I agree. On average, teams traveling 2 time zones to the west on a short week, which that's only 6 teams, but
it's brutal, right? 1-11. What?
0-6.
0-6. Okay.
Well, before the Vikings, so 0-7.
You ripped it out last week.
Negative 10 point differential on average. The Vikings brought that up from negative 10.8 to negative 10.1. So,
but isn't it good that when the other team scores 38, you score slightly more than 7?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So we're getting better. Right?
Hey.
We're improving in that aspect.
Yeah, the performance against the Rams was much better than the performance against the Bills.
Bringing off our conversations on air. So, Luke, you tell me your thoughts here, because I was talking with Arif of that. I don't think there's any way that Zimmer gets fired.
We were talking
this
about
offseason, where I think he could.
I've seen floating around on Vikings Twitter, not necessarily that he should be fired, but he should be on the hot seat, which
I think I've seen that as well.
Means
warm his ass.
Why is it hot? Because you're considering firing him.
I think he could survive a 3-12-1. Although next year he would be going
right.
In
Yeah,
on
he
the
would
hot
be
seat.
then.
Yeah.
You'd
on the
have
hot
to
seat.
be on the side. 3-12-1. You'd have to be on the
benefit
hot seat.
to being 3-12-1. Unlikely that John DeFilippo would be hired.
That's That's true. That is true.
Although, what if the defense still stanks and the Kirk's like arm falls off, chucking it 50 times a game? Like, what's up?
Do you think Kirk could break 5,500 yards?
Yeah,
Wow. What's the pace right now?
Is he on pace for like?
He's got 1,000 already.
Yeah.
2-ish? Or is he on pace for 50? No.
Let's find out.
Yeah, if only there was some way.
Some magical
I love
way to
on
check
pace
this
stats. Someone wrote into the other podcast I'm on, Norse Code, followed on Stitcher and stuff. Yeah, he's on pace for 5,500.
Wow.
5,548. Someone asked me, someone was like, on pace stats suck. Why don't you like tell people not to use them? And I'm just like, but they're hilarious. Like,
Why did you not?
Yeah, like, so obviously no one is implying, or very few people are implying that
This
will
is going to
maintain the
happen.
pace.
Right.
But it gives you context for how impressive, because we don't normally think of numbers. We think of them in season long. So, like, if a running back is on pace for like 1,300 yards and they only have, 400 and some yards 4 games into the season or whatever, then, or I guess whatever that is. Someone's going to... It's difficult to be impressed by like 450 yards, but then you're like, well, think about it.
Right.
Multiply by 4 or whatever.
Right.
And you're in a really good
season,
spot.
now you get it.
Yeah, and so it gives us context for how the performances have been doing because we remember the season-long numbers way better.
Now, Cousins is also on pace to get sacked 52 times, which sounds like a lot until you realize he got sacked 41 times last year.
Wow.
It's like, oh yeah, because their offensive line died.
What's nuts
TJ
about
Clemens.
this is that, so Cousins is like, I think 4th in the NFL right now in pressure rate, and all the quarterbacks above him, like Josh Allen and a couple others, they're all there because they hold on to the ball too long.
Yeah.
Right? And Cousins actually has a really low time to throw or time to attempt. I was actually talking to Michael Kist, who writes for Bleeding Green Nation, about the Eagles game, and I was like, hey, yeah, so this is wild. The people above him hold on to the ball a lot, but he doesn't. And he actually went through the numbers on air with me, and he was like, yeah, it's crazy. Last week, he averaged something like 2.37 seconds, which is really low. And so for him to be pressured as often as he has is kind of wild. He doesn't invite pressure. Like, he may not be great under pressure, although this year he's actually been pretty good under pressure.
He's getting a lot of practice.
Yeah. He might not be great under pressure, but at least he doesn't invite it like a lot of other quarterbacks. Tyrod Taylor's another really good example of a quarterback does that. Carson Wentz does it, although he kind of makes up for it. Well, I mean, he has. Who knows this year?
Did that hurt?
It did.
The mild praise?
It hurt a lot. To like backstop the criticism. Yeah. But yeah, so given the fact that he tends to negate pressure or prevent pressure from arriving, the fact that he's been pressured it's insane. 52 sacks. Those aren't really his. I mean, some of them kind of are because he doesn't have awareness of his of the backside. So a couple of the fumbles are because he doesn't have pocket awareness and he doesn't step up. So some of the sacks are kind of his fault, but not a ton. And also the pressure that created those sacks are not really his fault. So yeah, kind of wild.
Yeah.
Didn't Derek Carr get like sacked like 62 times, or David Carr?
Yeah,
it had to be close like that.
It was something like, actually, it might have been close to 70. His rookie year, where I believe it was the record. It may have been shattered, just like David Carr's confidence. But the fact that it's
76 is
76 is the record.
76 is rookie year.
Oh my good.
Then somehow he got injured in 2003. Don't know how. Yeah. And then 2004 led the league with 49. So think about that. He had 76 in 2002, and in 2004 he led the league again, but it was like 25 fewer, 27 fewer.
The most demoralizing thing. So PFF Sam Monstrom, friend of the program, had a good tweet this week. Minnesota's O-line has now surrendered 81 total pressures through 4 games. The average O-line gives up 160 over season. Minnesota's on pace to give up 324. That would be the most we've seen in a decade by around 70.
In fairness,
what's happening, you guys?
That doesn't account for rate. I mean, Cousins has thrown for about 50 times in 3 games and 40 times in the other one.
Is that what it is? I mean, have we just been getting down too early, too quick, and forced to abandon?
Well, so I think
John DeFilippo can't run the ball.
I think
this is not a Zimmer type of team.
I think that's the problem in the Bills game, right? I think
for sure
everyone knew that the Vikings were going to pass
the whole game. I mean, down 14 zip, 17 zip.
Well, 27 zip by like
right.
Yeah. And so they had to pass the entire time. I don't blame DeFilippo for not quote unquote establishing the run in those situations, but that does mean that Jerry Hughes knows they're going to throw the ball, and that means he can pin his ears.
Noted power rusher Jerry Hughes.
Noted power rusher Jerry Hughes.
But also, like in the Rams game, do you think that DeFilippo got a little itchy trying to keep up with that basketball on grass game?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
probably.
Yeah. I'll say this about DiFilippo. Sorry, I keep on taking your time. I think he is really phenomenal so far in a lot of aspects. I think he's done a really good job game planning, designing plays, and executing. I think the issue, of course, is that I think everyone agrees that his play calling isn't really up to par. I will say I think it's very easy to criticize his play calling, but there are situations where I think it's actually more Cousins' fault than his. And I think the 2-minute situation against San Francisco, against Buffalo, are both instances where I think DiFilippo deserves some blame, but took most of the blame for the play calling, where I think Cousins actually should have also taken a good chunk of the blame.
It's been really disappointing, besides the offensive line as a whole, is the fact that the two... Probably, like, you can make a case that the two worst offenders have been Mike Remmers and Riley Reif.
Yeah, the ones that they brought in.
The paid veteran guys.
Staples, the guys who were supposed to be the rock. And you knew it was going to be a young kind of turning over new offensive line over the next just 2, 3, 4 years. Pat Elflein and some other guys that they've brought in. But that is a huge surprise to me. I know we've talked about Remmers going to tackle in the offseason. This isn't like news for us.
Are you eating beans?
Hey, we don't judge.
Producer Eric just eating a can of beans like a hobo.
We don't judge, dude. We don't judge.
He does have a mic. You can't even fight back.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, dude. It's 2018, man. Get your protein in. Yeah. Organic?
Organic spicy black beans.
Organic?
Yeah. Cup Foods brand.
This is the Twitter meme, dude. Yeah. I can't. That's incredible, man. Anyway,
no,
what were we talking about?
We've been talking about about Remmers.
Yeah,
we like tackle Remmers better than or guard Remmers for a long time. So don't know what they're gonna do. It seems like they're kind of not stuck. It seems like they want Remmers at guard for whatever reason. As Rashad Hill continues to struggle a little bit, we like Danny Isadora in the mix a little bit more. Obviously, we like Devontae Collins.
We like
Brian
Witzman.
Jones. Doesn't make sense, doesn't add up. Maybe O'Neal is the guy ready to roll if they don't want Hill in there. Maybe that's the plan. But
the Vikings have four offensive tackles that they can play at tackle. They're playing one of them at guard. And Rashad Hill has actually not been that bad.
Not horrible.
Crazy.
No.
I think Remmers
like he kind of is what he is.
I think ideally he would just be one of the best backup tackles.
I
in the
think
league,
so.
Right.
I think so.
But he's starting.
Rashad Hill or Mike Remmers.
Right. But that's we were talking about this, like you mentioned, we were talking about this in the preseason about him playing. We were talking about this during OTAs about him playing guard.
Talking about this for a long time.
And we brought up, hey, in the Chicago game, I don't think his numbers weren't bad in Week 17 in Chicago when he played guard, but I thought there were a lot of red flags about him playing guard, and one of them is that he takes forever to get his hands in the right spot because he holsters when he.
I remember you bringing that up.
Yeah, when he gets up off the snap, his hands don't shoot forward for most guards. That's what you want to do. He brings them back, and his elbows go all the way back behind him. Yeah, he's holstering. Yeah. It's got do you remember is it a Bond movie where Superman holsters his biceps?
Ooh. Oh, God.
It's a great trailer. It's a great trailer.
Yeah.
I want to see that now.
Yeah. The guy who plays Superman, I forget his name. I think the producer's looking it up right now. Great. It's fantastic. This is great. It's much better than Tom.
Yeah.
He holsters, and then that's fine at tackle, right? Because it allows you to kind of determine how and when you're going to time
soften
your
blow
punch,
a little
right?
bit.
Yeah. But at guard, it's awful because now you're way behind in punch timing, and so they can always get inside your chest.
And that internal pressure, as we know, if you get knocked back as a guard, even 2 to 3 steps right out the gate, that internal pressure for a quarterback, there's nothing worse. I have to immediately try to bail out and roll out, as opposed to you get pressure off the edge, with a good pocket presence and good awareness. Tom Brady does it better than anybody. You shuffle just a few steps here or there, or you move up in the pocket, boom, and it alleviates or kind of counteracts that pressure on the edge. Internal pressure, tough to stop.
And I know, some have made the case that Remmers, he's struggling. He's facing elite competition. Buckner and Daniels and Williams, Donald and Subas.
Right.
It's not like it gets any easier. Low key. Defensive interior around the league is at a pretty high level.
Yeah, especially now that, I guess Watt's playing on the outside again. But, Watt's healthy and stuff, so that. But, I totally agree that the defensive interior is stronger than it ever has been, especially because players like Geno Atkins haven't really fallen off yet, right? We can talk about Fletcher Cox, Geno Atkins, Aaron Donald, Ndamukong Suh. DeForest Buckner. Like, it's crazy, right?
There's a lot. Leonard Williams is
Right.
on the rise.
I think Williams
top
is
5
playing
pick.
really well. A lot of people, he doesn't have the sack numbers or whatever. I think he's playing really well.
Plus, he's in that super cute Visa commercial
That is
where he builds the
adorable. Oh my God.
astronaut thing for his kid.
I'm orbiting planet Chicago.
No,
me.
the only commercial that got me more than that was the Shaquem Griffin Gillette commercial.
Oh yeah.
I actually like that one. Yeah, I like that one.
Where he's like learn how to shave and stuff. It's like,
Wait, I'll say if you divorce it from its political context, which I mean you shouldn't. That's the reason they chose him. But the Colin Kaepernick Nike ad, just like the script and the delivery and the images are really powerful.
Rock solid.
Yeah, it's really good. Now, obviously, it doesn't work without the political. But if you divorce it from that, it's really good. But so this is my. So I think Remmers has been giving up like some absurd 5 pressures a game or something like that. And at tackle he gave up 1.7, which they're not 1-to-1 comparisons because at tackle you're supposed to give up more pressure than you are at guard. So the fact that he's giving up 2.5 times or whatever it is, the amount of pressure is absurd. And so you can adjust, you can say, hey, he's going up against Buckner and Donald and so on. And that's fair and fine and it gives context, but we should provide 2 additional pieces of context. One is that even up against elite competition like that, you shouldn't be performing this poorly. And second, that's just, it's going to be how it's going to be. That's what you're going to have to deal with. I mean, I mentioned that the older defensive tackles haven't declined. Gerald McCoy, another great example.
Ooh, there you go.
he's still around.
Yeah, and he's still good.
Yeah.
And so you're going to go into the playoffs. You're going up against all these NFC tackles. You're going to go against Aaron Donald again.
Well, you're going up against Gerald McCoy in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, probably not. You might go up against Grady Jarrett. He's out for a couple of weeks, but he should be back. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
You'll go up against Fletcher Cox again. You're going to have to, the only team that we can reasonably expect from last year's playoffs to make this year's playoffs, maybe the Saints, who, they're not doing as well as maybe they should. But, they're the only ones
Rankins, I guess, 3-tech. And,
and he's fine, but he's
fine.
He's the only one
that level.
where you don't have an elite level.
Right.
But for the most part, that's what you're going to have to deal with. And maybe you play the Jaguars in the Super Bowl. You're going to have to deal with, all the crap that they're going to put forward. Yeah, everybody.
Remmers leads the team in pressures allowed, 22 total, 3 sacks, 1 hit, 18 hurries, in 216 passing. Or pass blocking snaps. Yeah. Also is 5-year, $30 million deal, 10.5 guaranteed. Guaranteed money falls off a cliff. Only 1.8 dead if the Vikings decide to move on next year.
Wow.
If you had to wager right now, is Mike Remmer a Viking 2019?
But I mean, does it make sense to get rid of a guy when your primary problem is you don't have enough guys?
Right, exactly. I mean,
that's the
he has
Well,
to.
it's like Seattle getting rid of Luke Jokel.
I mean, actually, that's fair.
Yeah, I think he's got to be. He has to be.
I think
can
he's
see-
back but restructured.
That makes more sense.
that. Yeah,
They definitely have to have a plan if they get rid of, they have to be okay, so we definitely need to bring in at least one more guy. If we get rid of him, we need to bring in 2 more guys, which they needed to bring in 2 more guys, last year. They didn't anticipate Nick Easton getting injured.
Right.
I get it. But I didn't think he was particularly good anyways. They needed to replace
also,
him.
Aviante
upgrade
Collins.
anyways.
Yeah.
And Collins will come back. I think they're really going to try to determine what they think of O'Neal after one season. What the potential is he a guy that maybe we could keep going and try to eventually be the left tackle replacement? And maybe they still know after a season and they kind of go back and look at the film and talk to each other. Maybe they know it's still a year out. All the more reason to bring back a guy like Remmers. And I think they're probably going to draft another guy too in the first 2 rounds one more time.
The Will Hernandez hive is out in full force. He's leading all rookies in PFF grades. Guess who's 3? Guess who's 3?
Yeah,
Read the rest of that graphic
Right there.
Now this is all
She got Mike
this is
Hughes.
all karmic retribution for me because I was all piffy about Mike Hughes after week 1 and then.
Well, I mean,
I knew Hughes was going
He's
to be
so
good.
fine.
I just
So
still
was
want
Zimmer.
it.
That was the funny thing. Is that Zimmer was like, "Yeah, I don't see anybody complaining about me taking a quarterback in the first round
Right.
anymore." And it's like, buddy, I think that came back to bite you.
Too soon, dude. Too soon.
That's gonna be on the 30 for
Especially
30.
because it's kind of Hughes' fault that Jason Kroom touchdown against the Bills.
Oh yeah, yeah. Something that is not your fault is have you ever looked at your credit card statement and been shocked by the interest rate? Do you know that you could actually roll all of your credit card debt into one monthly pay at a lower fixed interest rate? Crazy. Lightstream offers credit card consolidation loans from 5.89% APR with auto pay. That's lower than the average credit card interest rate of over 18% APR. What? Get a loan from $5K to $100,000. You can even get your funds as soon as the day you apply because Lifestream believes that people with good credit deserve a great interest rate and no fees. Producer Tom has used Lifestream. He's gotten his stuff together. He's a big boy now, and you can be a big boy too. And now my listeners can get a special discount on top of Lightstream's already low rates. The only way to get this discount is go to lightstream.com/thezone. That's lightstream.com, lightstream.com/thezone. Subject to credit approval. A rate includes 0.5% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/thezone for more information. I'm not good at spelling things out phonetically, even though it's right in front of me. What can you do? Some of the Vikings aren't great at recently. Defense. Now, I get it. You can sort of explain away the Rams game. You're playing a historically great offense, potentially, right? But also going back to the Bills game, also going back to the Packers game, everything's maybe not going so great. So it's not like they forgot. Although the past 5.5 games, perhaps they may have thoughts. Defense. Yeah,
again, I think getting behind early has been kind of the Achilles heel right away. And I think it's one of those things that this is not the blueprint of how Mike Zimmer and the Vikings want to win. They want to, again, go back to that old school, be able to run the ball down your throat, but be more of a time of possession type of team and play good defense. They don't really want to get into shootouts. Now, we've learned that if they have to get in a shootout, they can ball. Right, we know Kirk Cousins in the Packer game, and we saw it again last week. They can go toe for toe, they can go blow for blow, but in the long run, they're probably going to lose more times than not to teams that are built to go shootouts, like the Rams.
If you're going to be bad, just be high scoring, like Oklahoma State.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Right? Then I can show up on Sundays at noon and enjoy myself. Yeah. But I think they can go, again, toe-to-toe with some of these teams, but more times than not, when you end up playing a team like the Rams, maybe the Saints, teams that, again, are more built to go shootout style, you're going to lose those. I think they need to get back to controlling the clock. And again, we know you can't have a lot of turnovers when you start to limit both teams' possessions like that. But I think Kirk Cousins, that's not the issue. I think turnovers isn't the issue. Got to get the running game going. Saw Dalvin's not 100%. He kind of admitted, right? Hammies linger. Yeah. Hammies will always.
You didn't even
linger.
Participate in practice.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of surprising.
Reef, why is the defense bad?
A lot of reasons. They're bad against play action.
Yep.
They're bad against motions.
They're horrible against play action. And the Rams are outstanding off play action. So let's even just take that out of the equation. They were still bad against play action before this Rams game, correct?
Yeah. So they
they weren't great.
So they lead the league in defensive dropbacks against play action, 33%. Which is really high for a defense. And they've given up the most yards to play action, 620 or something like that.
Seems like a lot.
Second place is Oakland, that's not good. 1. 2, Oakland only gave up like 460, so it's like a huge difference.
This is with the Rams game?
Yeah, with the Rams game. And if you take a look at sort of like the yards per attempt play action, so they give up 13 yards per attempt against play action passes, and only 6 against, or 7 actually, 7 against, which is not great by itself, against non-play action passes. It's just wild. So, which is actually the difference between their play action versus non-play action is like the third worst in the league, and number 2 and 1 just haven't faced a lot of play action.
Right.
So, which I think one of them is at Green Bay, and
they're getting smoked. Yep. I know somebody also pointed out it was a really good video breakdown as far as it's been a lot of the same style of plays that have been the big plays that they've given up, specifically on linebackers. You get a lot of...
You talking about the Justice Mosqueda video?
It might have been. Yeah. I really can't remember who it was, but it was great kind of breakdown as far as the X's and O's, where a lot of motion and everything basically going one direction, then you have the tight end leak out on the other. And that's happened nearly every week.
They pair
and that's just one type of play, but they've been exposed.
They pair. This is kind of why I like zone running a lot, is that it sets up your play action really well, because you can stay behind the line of scrimmage and still look like you're running a run play without trying to fire off the ball.
Right.
See, that's Will Hernandez was struggled.
Firing off the ball. But yeah, they run zone action to one side, they boot to the other side. Sometimes they don't even boot. I think Goff didn't even bootleg. And they've got a tight end, or in the case of the Rams, a receiver, fake a block, leak out underneath the block, and then
while
run
again
a wheel
everybody
route
else
up.
is really kind of pushing the opposite side of the field.
And
everybody's flowing one way. Yep.
And there are instances where Eric Kendricks, I think Eric Kendricks has actually been the worst against play action. He bites really hard.
It's just nuts.
It's crazy because he's really good about reading keys correctly. He's really good about film study.
Very fundamentally sound.
Yeah, and so he was the most instinctive linebacker to come out of his draft class, and it looked like that with the Vikings. He was a big part of the reason the Vikings were so good against screen passes in 2015, 2016. And
seems like they've struggled against screen passes a
lot
bit, too.
Yeah, I totally
I'd be interested
agree.
to hear if you've done any research on that, just stats wise, compared to the rest of the league. But we'll wait that.
Give me the hierarchy. Give me the top 3 Vikings on defense that have been the most disappointing.
Most disappointing?
Yeah.
To me, number 1 is Eric Kendricks. And then number 2 is Trey Waynes.
Ooh. Well, I mean, he hasn't played 3 out of 4 games.
Right, but when he has played, he's given up a lot of yards.
They
so
pick on him.
He's given up the second most yards in coverage to any other player in the defense, even though he's played like 2/3 of the snaps. And I think yards per snap in coverage or something like that. If you don't count Ben Gedeon, which I don't.
Yep.
He's only had 20 snaps.
But he had like a 90 grade against San Francisco.
Yeah, you got the fake DPI.
On 6 snaps.
Yeah, but he leads the Vikings, 2.81 yards given up per snap in coverage, followed by, crazily, Eric Kendricks.
Oh my gosh.
Which
That's how you know it's been a weird/bad season when Gideon leads that.
Right, yeah. And then after that, it's like Mike Hughes, Mackenzie Alexander. I don't know if they're disappointing so much as that's kind of expected. And then after that,
where do you put Barr?
Probably 4th or 5th. Like
You're not as high on beating up on bars, kind of the general.
Right. And so I kind of want to pull back on it, but I will say, Linval hasn't been playing well. Sendeo's not been playing well.
Harry hasn't made those splash plays.
Harry hasn't been playing poorly, but he hasn't been making those huge splash plays.
Like bailing out the rest
Xavier
of the
Rhodes
team.
also has been playing kind of poorly. Not, I think, as poorly as to be alarming, but he's not playing like a Pro Bowl cornerback. He's playing better than any other corner, right? By a really substantial margin.
Right.
But he's still
seems like everybody's bar has just gotten
I think
lower,
so, yeah.
just a little
Pun
bit.
intended.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
I think bar's an easy one just because some of the plays.
Well, the big
were
plays
against
and the
Josh
replays.
Allen, and
Yeah.
it's just and replays. Everybody, it's easy to pick apart. So I'm going to leave bar out of this.
In the moment, it was easy to cook Barr against Los Angeles, but then almost every one of those where he got ISO'd against Gurley and Kupp and Woods, like almost can be explained away. Almost.
Absolutely. And it's like I'm not going to put that on Barr for being put in a tough, almost impossible.
Hey, there's one wide receiver on the field. This Robert Woods. Guess who's going to be on him? Oh, Anthony Barr.
What are we doing?
Running verts.
I think, when Barr is asked to do the things that he's good at, obviously, I think he's really good. I think he's really
and I
good.
know you definitely want him to rush the passer more often.
Absolutely. Yep. And I don't know if they're waiting
think
for
so
him
too.
to work on his hand work and technique or what, but just
Let him
let
figure
it
it out on
rip
the
and go
fly.
figure it out. I think for me, Andy, just to wrap up your question, I think Trey Waynes has been pretty rough. I think Mac Alexander, for me, has been one of the worst players on the field consistently. If you're just talking about giving up plays, not being where he's supposed to be, and again, not really developing or progressing what everybody was hoping in his 3rd year, just like Treadwell. Remember, same draft.
Yep.
Treadwell, Mac. I think that Mac just really hasn't lived up to the billing. Eric Kendricks got to be in the top 3 as well.
And all off season, all training camp, it was Anthony Barr is getting some work in with assistant D-line coach Robert Rodriguez. Look at the hand placement. Oh, he's become the edge rusher again. And it's weird. In the absence of Everson Griffin, you would think that they would utilize Barr's skill more, but they just haven't.
Yeah, and
It's only been 1 week. Well,
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, it's 2 if you count
2.
Bills.
Yeah. So,
But I mean, the Bills one, maybe it was kind of difficult to plan around that, even though they kind of expected him to miss the game because of the foot anyway.
right.
So here's a couple of things. So first, I'm not that surprised that they haven't been using him as an edge rusher all that much. I remember talking about it all off season, because I mean this goes all the way back to OTAs and him working with Robert Rodriguez and stuff like that. And we got a bunch of calls coming in. I remember you and I talking about it. You were really excited about it. I said pump the brakes. And now I'm kind of
put me in check.
Yeah, that's evergreen situation.
That's okay. You always have Alex Boone over me, so you've got that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you for never letting me forget to let you forget.
But now I'm kind of flipping to the other side. Maybe not necessarily off the edge, but he should rush the passer more. Not because he's bad in coverage. Again, he's playing better than Kendricks is in coverage.
Right.
In the situations where he's given up the most yards are situations that I think the Gurley one is reasonable, but that's his fault. But the other ones I think are much more just not his fault. Actually, so as an aside, just to continue my Barr defense, so he's given up 100. He gave up 119 yards in coverage in that game, right? That means on the season he gave up 134. He hasn't given up that much in coverage.
No.
Whereas,
I don't know where that ranks compared to. I mean, one big play, especially this early in the season, can ruin your kind of ranking, so to speak.
So here are the ranks from worst to best in coverage. 1, Ben Gideon doesn't count. 2, Trey Waynes. 3, and this is not coverage grade, but yards given up per snap in coverage. Okay. Trey Waynes, Eric Kendricks, Mike Hughes, Mackenzie Alexander, Holton Hill. That's 1 through 6. Then Anthony Barr and Xavier Rhodes. Okay. So he hasn't been that bad, even though he's got that giant game. And Xavier Rhodes also has a giant Devontae Adams game.
That's true.
But so I think they should. So it's not that he's bad in coverage. I think that they should have him rush the passer more. He actually has the highest pressure rate of any player on the team, which, I mean, that's not always surprising because, a blitzing linebacker is more likely to get pressure than a defensive lineman.
Yep.
But I think you should get to the point where that's almost not. You should be blitzing your linebackers often enough that they're getting pressure only a little bit more often than your edge rushers are. Because it goes Anthony Barr, then Eric Kendricks only has 19 pass rushing snaps, then Daniil Hunter, who's been playing phenomenally.
Outstanding.
Then Everson, who is missing, and then Sheldon Richardson, who obviously has been great, and then David Perry, who they let go. Which he's only had 15 pass rushing snaps. It doesn't really count.
He did get a sack, didn't he?
He did get that sack. That's actually his only pressure.
Got that bonus. I don't know if that's a bonus for him, but it should be.
Yeah. And then after that, it's like Stephen Whiteley to Sean Bauer. I don't think they're playing,
they're fine. Badly, it's just a clear drop off though from Everson.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm with you. You guys know I've always been a Weatherly guy, but I never...
Both of us.
From Vandy coming out, more of a 3-4 guy, but I never thought or wished upon him for him to be the starter.
Right.
It just doesn't seem like a kind of a fair shot for him. I just think he's not there yet, and he may never be a true 4-3 base kind of starting defensive end. But the big thing that I love about Barr, and it goes to Arif's point, you put him at D end, he can still drop back in coverage. You can still do so many kind of fun things with him as a DN.
Vikings finally moving to a 3-4.
Thank you.
Again, oh my God. I love this talking point, man. So much.
You got Linval at nose. You got Barr. No, I think that Barr, again, as a base DN, again, you can remember when he would drop B-Rob back and we're like, we like the scheme, we like the play, but you can't do that with B-Rob, dude.
Although he is an athletic freak.
Yeah, we need somebody more athletic.
He is an athletic freak. Come on, man.
And Barr, B-Rob, yeah. I think that Barr, though, gives you so much flexibility and fun stuff that you can design with his hand in the dirt as an edge rusher. Again, let him rush the passer like we know he's good at, but you can also drop him back in the flat. You can drop him back in that zone. You can even drop him back as a quarterback spy in some cases too. So I think that's the way to go. Maybe they should have done that from the get-go, to be honest.
And something that they possibly maybe kind of would have, could have, should have done. George freaking Aloka. So he's been in the building about 6 weeks, has not taken a defensive snap. He's played a little special teams, sure, but raising some questions. I mean, you're struggling in coverage. Aloka could be the elixir out there, but just so far the usage is puzzling because when he signed, like Zimmer's talking about, 3 safety look, big nickel. This isn't speculation. This came from Zimmer.
So normally I when people are like, hey, you just signed a guy, where is he? I want to see him on the field more often. Normally, I'm just like kind of dismissive of a concern like that. Normally, I just think that...
Dismissive of your fans, Arif, no way.
Yeah.
On brand.
And normally I just think like, hey, it's it doesn't fit kind of what they want to do. It doesn't kind of fit the situation. They're doing well enough without it. That's normally how it is. I think in this case, I think fans are kind of correct to ask these questions because it's not as if you signed a guy who was all name, right? In fact, I think George Aloka has played better than people give him credit for. He's a starting quality safety in the league, right? And I understand playing Andrew Sandeo above him.
Over under Eric Reed. Oh, sorry.
Wow. Whoa. He's starting now, right? I think he's immediately.
I don't know. Like Carolina
might take
decimated.
1 week, but he will be.
Carolina just benches him. He's not even active. But yeah,
just to prove a point.
What? But yeah, he's a starting quality safety. He's 6'4", 220 or something like that. Like he's enormous for a safety. He's bigger than Telvin Smith, starting linebacker for the Jaguars.
Yep.
So, I normally, would say, don't worry about it, it's just depth. But like in this case, where the Vikings specifically have trouble with their linebackers are not providing a ton. They're not necessarily bad in the run game, but they're not providing a ton in the run game. And they're certainly acting as liabilities, both of them, in coverage. In one of them, you can be pretty happy about maybe what he does when he rushes the passer. You should be, I think, more aggressive about putting Aloka on the field as a linebacker / safety hybrid, like your money backer, right? Like
yes,
yeah. Sorry, Andy, you've been waiting for this.
Also, random. Aloka is 3 inches taller and 10 pounds lighter than Thomas Davis was coming into the league.
That's amazing.
The archetype of safety, the linebacker guy.
Thomas Davis is like one of the only ones.
Just a freak.
Well,
safety to linebacker.
It's Thomas Davis. It's Eric Wilson. That's it.
Eric Wilson.
Ever. So they did it with Deion Buchanan, who's like okay, and then Mark Barron, who hasn't played well.
But they missed him.
But they gave him a ton of money to play for LA. So
yeah, he splashed a little bit when they moved in, and then he's just kind of steadily declined.
And then they did miss him in the game though. That's true.
Yeah, sure.
But that's it. I mean, like Shaq Thompson hasn't been doing super well as a safety linebacker. Anyway, George Aloka should play as the third safety / second or third linebacker more often. And I think specifically against the sets that forced the Vikings into that awful cover 3 situation where Kupp scored the 70-yard touchdown, where they lined up an I formation. They had 2 tight ends, 1 running back. So
and
the
then
Vikings,
all of a sudden, boom, 5 receivers.
Right. So the Vikings
5 wide, I should say.
Yeah, they went 5 wide. Yeah. So the Vikings are in base because they've got 2 tight ends and 1 running back, and so they've got Ben Gideon out there, right? And so
they got Barr, they got Gideon, they got Kendricks.
Yeah. And so you've got 2 outside linebackers because of the 2 tight ends, and then they go into empty, and then the Vikings basically have a choice, right? Should we have Barr on this receiver or Gideon?
Right.
And like, no shit.
I mean, 10 out of 10 times I have to say Barr.
You need to go with the Dick Vitale. They need a TO, baby.
and really, again, I mean, he was in decent position. I mean, sometimes we got to put some credit.
Right, yeah.
That's a hell of a play design. That's a hell of a throw and catch.
Right, yeah. And it would have been nice to have that safety help over the top, but it's difficult. Cover 3-4 verts, difficult to do.
Again,
so
good play design. I mean, yeah.
In that situation where you've got 2 tight ends coming out on the field and a running back, so it's not a fullback, it's just another tight end. I think it makes sense to, instead of going in base, bring Aloka out because he'll be fine against the run. Not great, maybe definitely not as good as Gideon.
Yeah, but of course, if you go small in that spot, then they'll stick with the run.
Yeah, and
that's okay.
You're fine, I think.
Yeah.
I would prefer that they, especially not knowing the results, but I would much prefer they look at the personnel and decide to run instead of look at the personnel and decide to pass.
Right, especially that team.
Yeah.
How good have you guys thought J-Ron Kearse has been in that role? I pointed out some plays in the Niners game.
The thing is, he's not playing as a third safety. He's playing as a nickel corner.
That's blowing my mind.
Playing really well.
How is he so good as a nickel corner?
He learned it from Anton Exum.
Oh,
Where do you think he got it from?
Confused. Like when I saw
Exum's not doing too bad not great, but not too bad for San Francisco.
I'm glad he's reviving his career a little bit, or at least lingering around the league. But you're right. I mean, Kearse has played the 3 safety spot in the San Fran game, but only a snap or 2. And they've used him a lot as the nickel. Have you been impressed with him at all? I mean, I've been impressed in the fact that they even had the balls to put him as a nickel and how well he's been playing. So clearly they knew something that we didn't. I never saw that coming in a million years. I really didn't.
Yeah, it's surprising. I will say he has made mistakes, and which is why they keep pulling him off.
Yeah.
But like they also just want Hughes or Alexander to just take the spot, and neither of them have done it yet.
Right.
So I'm not surprised that we haven't seen him more often, just because he's made a couple of big mistakes in big spots. But for the most part, I think he's been really impressive, especially considering the context that he's been a safety his entire career.
Right.
That people thought maybe should move to linebacker.
It's not like Exum, who had again versatility and playing experience coming out of Virginia.
Yeah, he
Tech.
played cornerback.
Does everything. Yeah. He's a little safety, little nickel corner, outside corner. Curse, nothing.
Yep.
And he doesn't really fit the.
And you think he'd be on the outside.
Thank you.
Right, yeah.
6'4".
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Tell you what, with Rudy and Thielen and Diggs, like the Vikings do have the best basketball team in the league.
I think so.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, who's got dominant tight ends that could hang with Rudy? I mean,
Chargers.
Gronk, obviously.
Yeah, the Chargers. Yeah.
The Chargers,
In case you didn't know.
Gates.
And the Packers.
He's still
Oh, yeah, I
around,
suppose.
Gates? Yeah.
And now he is.
Of course.
Every time a Charger gets injured, like a warning flag goes off in Gates'
Gates
house.
gets his wings. Every time a Charger.
Yeah. If Gates gets hurt, they're bringing back Kellen Winslow, senior.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Senior.
Number 2 is incapacitated.
Yeah, he's indisposed.
Something that you should be into as well. MyBookie.ag. Been in the business for years. Rock solid reputation as one of the best online sports book in the universe. Plus 100% cash deposit bonuses, so you're making money right off the bat. Plus fastest payouts out there. Seriously, 2 business days. Plus, you know that you're going to get paid. I mean, it's so weird, right? That's something you got to worry about with some online sports books, but not with MyBookie. It's the only service that we would recommend. And when have we ever steered you wrong, except for every other thing except for this? That's what we want to do. Lock of the week this week for me. Give me Monday Night Football. Give me Washington plus 6.5 at New Orleans. Adrian Peterson, a revenge game. I think Washington holds in the shootout. Take the points. Bam. So go to MyBookie and they'll match your deposit up to 100%, up to $1,000. If you use promo code ZONE100, ZONE100 to activate the offer. Visit MyBookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid. All right. So we put up talking about stupid 38-7 long enough, but emotions returning to Philly Sunday. Fox's game of the week.
Oh, man. Emotions. You got to think they're... especially with their record, the way they lost on Thursday night, and this few extra days that they have, they got to be in, and I know every team is playing to win, but they got to be in like win now mode. I mean, I think they're going to bring a lot of intensity into Philly, and I don't want to get too cliche with like they're going to play with a lot of passion or anything like that, but I think there's certainly going to be an little bit of extra motivation chip on their shoulder when they head into Philly. And, you know, I haven't dived into Philly is every game and every week so far as the L22 and the film goes, but I know they're not playing up to par.
Well, I think
as
you,
well. So
you and I are their wide receiver 4 and 5 this week.
Is that the deal?
Yeah, and also we're filling in safety because McLeod's out.
So no depth. Jeffrey's back.
Yeah,
yeah.
but I mean Xavier
Hobble.
Alshon, they go way back like chiroprac.
Yeah, so Philly fans like to point this out that Alshon Jeffrey has like more touchdowns against the Vikings than any other team, which I mean obviously it's because he played them twice a year for a while. But also more importantly, he was playing with Brandon Marshall, who Xavier Rhodes would cover, and then like you had Josh Robinson on Alshon. So it's not really like he's like
2014 Pro Bowl alternate Josh Robinson until the Chicago game.
Until that game. He was playing so well until Alshon Jeffrey stole his soul.
But you don't want to go into Philly too cocky, but I mean they lost to Tennessee.
Why would they go into Philly cocky? Why are you cocky?
Wait,
what are you talking about?
Because like you go back, you know they lost to Tennessee.
You know you lost.
They
right?
made Marcus Mariota the AFC Offensive Player of the Week, even though he couldn't feel his hand 2 weeks ago. They almost lost at home to the Colts 2 weeks ago, and also they dropped one. Who did they lose to week 2?
They only lost 2 games, man.
Bucks?
Yeah. Oh, Bucks. Yeah. And they showed themselves to be a sham. And also, it's like John DeFilippo. I was like, who knows Doug Peterson better than John DeFilippo?
I do like that.
So that's all like useful and relevant.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz has played well. I don't think he's played up to his.
Also, J.J. is playing with a broken back.
Wait, like actually?
Yeah.
No, why couldn't McKinnon do that then? Come on, man.
Because he's weak. That's what you get for a small school. That's why he wasn't very highly recruited.
So there's some interesting things about Philly. So first, Carson Wentz is playing really well. He's not playing as well as he had last year. That's admittedly a very difficult, bar to reach. The receivers are playing very poorly. Their tight ends are playing pretty well as receivers. Apparently, Zach Ertz is right now pretty awful at run blocking, according to PFF.
No way.
Yeah. But what's weird is that the players in the offensive line that are doing really well are not the ones maybe that you'd immediately identify. So Lane Johnson and Jason Peters struggling. Steven Wisniewski and Brandon Brooks, great.
Yep.
Jason Kelsey playing really well. So it'll be interesting to see if this is a game that Lane Johnson kind of rights the ship, playing against Bauer and Weatherly, or if maybe they can kind of begin to earn a second contract playing against him.
Would you deploy Hunter at right defensive end up against Peters, or switch him back to the left side against Johnson?
I'd play him against Peters.
Yep.
Where's he been the best at statistically just through 4 games?
That's actually a really good question. Let me take a quick look.
Because I remember him playing opposite of Everson, obviously.
They're about equal.
Are they?
Yeah, in the preseason, he killed it from Everson's side. Yeah.
Yes. So that really stuck with me because, it was so dominant.
But yeah, he's had 68 pass rushes from Everson's side, so the right side, 60 from the left side. And both his sacks have come from the right side, but all of his quarterback hits have come from the left side.
Has he been starting?
Oh, no. He has 2 sacks on each, 0 quarterback hits on each, 5 hurries on one, 7 hurries on the other. So it's basically equal.
Has he been starting each game kind of flip-flopping? Have you noticed, I guess, any rhyme or reason where they've been playing him, or at least at the beginning of the game?
Ever since Everson's been out, he's started at right end.
I hope they keep him there then too, and I think they will.
Yeah. I wouldn't
obviously until Everson comes
right.
Yep.
But yeah, I would play him against Peters. Peters has been a little bit better in pass coverage, but if you can force them into 3rd and long and shut down the run game, Peters has been worse as a run blocker, and Daniil Hunter obviously is a very, very good run defender. Defensively, Philly's killing it on the defensive line. It's kind of like it's not a repeat of kind of what's happening last year. Their defensive line is playing better now than it was last year.
Yep.
But their cornerbacks are just worse.
Somehow.
Yeah. They keep insisting on playing Jalen Mills, which is a problem. Ronald Darby isn't kind of living up to... everyone was like, oh, maybe, his career's basically revived here. That's great. They figured out how to use him. He's a high draft pick.
2nd round draft pick from Florida State, and showed some stuff at Buffalo here or there.
Yeah.
In fact, he was pretty damn good.
Can we finally cook Jalen Mills? Because I was so looking forward to Diggs and Thielen against Jalen Mills in the NFC title game.
Right. That would be nice.
Come on, man.
So this is a game where they absolutely have to do, again, quick passing stuff like they did against the Rams. Because the thing with the Rams is they didn't have good edge rushers and they found pressure anyway. The Eagles have good everything. Brandon Graham is playing really well. Michael Bennett's playing pretty good. Derek Barnett's pretty good. Chris Long is still playing, and he's generating pressure. Fletcher Cox is a monster.
Derek, Sam Bradford pick, Barnett.
Yeah.
Michael Bennett as your depth. But Sidney Jones is already starting to flash a little bit there, too, as far as that. So I think depth-wise, they got pretty solid. Rasul Douglas from West Virginia has
better cornerbacks on the bench than they have on the field. Honestly, they should stop playing Jalen Mills.
They got a great 4 or 5 as far as depth, just like we always, kind of golf clapped at for the Vikings all training camp. I'm like, man, this starting 5 is great. No matter who you shuffle in and out, they got great depth. With Sidney Jones coming back from Washington, was going to be a top 10, top 15 pick.
Which side has a better advantage in familiarity? Cousins versus the Eagles, or the Eagles versus the Cousins?
I think you usually go defense, but I could be wrong on that.
I'm kind of skewed on this because I keep on getting exposed to, Joseph Goodberry, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So he had this theory that Andy Dalton always plays worse against common opponents, and the numbers were stark. The first time he played a defense in a couple of years, he killed him.
Yeah.
The second time he played that defense within the same number of years,
he just killed Atlanta.
Yeah.
How often does he play Atlanta? Never.
Right. That has changed this year, and they think maybe that's because the offensive coordinator. Sorry, Hugh. But man, that 2015 offense was wild, though.
Is it Bill Lazor again?
Yeah, it is Bill Lazor's.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, so it might be different, but my intuition is that the defense benefits more just because I have this one specific example in my head. But I don't, I'd be curious to know about it, especially once a quarterback switches teams. Which doesn't happen that much. And
we talk about good franchise level quarterbacks switch teams all the time, Arif.
Yeah, so we'll take a look at the Tyrod Taylor tape. The thing is, like, Peyton Manning doesn't count because he also brought his offense with him.
Yep.
So it's not like you can even use that. Right? So that'd be tough. I would say the defense probably benefits more because even though the offense has like first mover advantage, right? They get to kind of define the play. I think that the defense kind of knows what Kirk wants to do, what he doesn't want to do. So they already know kind of what his first move is going to be, and that kind of negates that advantage.
Yeah. Cousins, 7 career starts versus Philly, 4-3 record. QB wins, 2-2 in Philly. Has completed 64% of his passes, 2,122 yards, 60 touchdowns, 5 picks, 7.72 yards per attempt, as well as a 99.69 nice quarterback rating.
Nice. I'll take it.
Nah.
Yeah. But
Philly's a tough place to play.
yeah, I just feel like DiFilippo, since he was so, he's pretty much their red zone offensive coordinator in non-traditional title. But the fact that he knows Peterson so well, the fact that he played against Schwartz every day for 2 years.
I think DiFilippo is a bigger advantage to have than Cousins.
Yeah.
Agreed.
JDF, go earn your money.
In this specific kind of matchup.
We'll have final score predictions on the YouTube channel, so go over there and subscribe. And we'll be in hour 2. Take your phone calls as well as your Twitter questions. Show's available on iTunes, Stitcher, iRadio, Spotify, Google Play, everywhere you get podcasts, and zonecovers.com/machine. But for Luke and Arif and not Yinka and Eric behind the glass, I'm Andy saying, Andy, excited about Let's hour 2.